Hi, I'm Joe Eliseon, attorney and author of such profound works as Snarkey Putts Paranormal Attorneys at Law Number 1, The Case of the Undead Arbitrator, and Snarkey Putts Paranormal Attorneys at Law Number 2, The Case of the Ghastly Ghostwriter. As you can see, both of these are available not only as ebooks on Amazon Kindle, but are now in paperback, as will be Snarkey Putts Paranormal Attorneys at Law Number 3, The Case of the Canine's Curse. That's coming soon. But I'm not here today to plug my Snarkey Putts books. I'm here to read an excerpt from a story that I wrote some time ago. A time so far in the past I was still using adverbs and writing in traditional paragraph structure. The story is called 5 Minutes More, and it's included in my short story collection, the aptly named 5 Minutes More and Other Stories, which is also available as an ebook on Amazon Kindle. 5 Minutes More is the story of a young attorney named Frank Rossi. Frank is caught up in the real estate boom of the early 1980s. No semi-autobiographical reference there. Frank finds a beautiful ghost is haunting his law firm's new offices. If she is a ghost, maybe she's not. But anyway, let's take a step back and join Frank as he initiates negotiations for the real estate acquisition that kicks off the story's action with the octogenarian property owner, Hector Codway. Here we go. I drove into the nursing home's parking lot on a bright, blustery Saturday, just a bit after lunchtime. Despite the sunshine, the breeze blew cool off the water. I pulled my windbreaker around me as I got out of the car. Sand crunched underfoot. The beach wasn't far away. I could hear the waves pounding, and I could smell the sea. Suddenly, I thought of the tacky resorts on Cape Cod where my parents used to take me when I was a kid. Sure enough, when I looked up at the nursing home's main building, it was my childhood memory of beachfront cheap. No central heating, thin walls, and no basement. Anyway, that's what it looked like. I climbed the cement stairs to the wide wooden porch that wrapped around the building. A quartet of old geezers sat at a white wicker table playing bridge. I asked about Codway. They sent me around the corner. Hollow creaks followed my feet across the porch timbers as I stepped away. When I got to the corner and turned toward the seaside, the onshore breeze blew my jacket open, just like it did when I was a kid. The creaking under my feet gave way to the noise of the surf. A man sat all alone at the far end of the porch, motionless, watching the waves or maybe asleep. It had to be Codway. I took a few steps toward him, close enough to get a good look at him. It was Codway, all right. Just my luck. Because this man was old, real old. Not the Grandpa Walton old, spry and alert, bounding in and out of second childhood as the spirit moved him. Not that at all. This was the glazed eye, undertaker's delight, 1 foot in the grave old, the type that makes most of us wish we'd get hit by a truck instead. 80, 90 years of sun and wind had driven deep driftwood scars into this man's face, probably into his brain as well. His clothes swam on him 6 sizes too big. One leg of his pants lay flat on the seat of his chair, tapering off and flapping in the wind where his ankle should have been. What I had thought was a metal cane resting against the side of his chair wasn't. It had a metal foot on the end and a shoe. Just my luck. I had to negotiate a real estate deal with this last 10% of a man. He'd probably play for sympathy. I was already disgusted. Mr. Codway? No response. His eyes were open, but unfocused. Great, I thought. He's dead, and the property'll go into probate. I tried again. Mr. Codway. He jerked awake. He had only been daydreaming. What is it? He asked, turning his head toward me. I could almost hear his stiff neck muscles scrape against the worn vertebrae. Who are you? I put out my hand with my business card. My name is Frank Rossi. I'm an attorney. His bony, unsteady fingers closed on my flesh. My card fell unnoticed into his narrow lap. A lawyer, eh? I don't remember hiring you. I gave him a smile weak as tea. No, sir, you didn't hire me, but you're the owner of a piece of property, a number 3 Africa Wharf. I have a client who might be interested in buying it. I didn't think he could look any closer to death than he already did, but when I mentioned number 3, his eyelids pulled back so far I thought his eyes would pop out of their sockets. No, he croaked. No, go away. Don't bother me. Sir, please, maybe you don't understand. I understand you. I understand. He cowered away from me, losing himself in his clothes. I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. He waved his hand at me, as if warding off a fly or a nurse with an enema. Get away from me. Leave me alone. I took a quick step backwards. It occurred to me that if this old bastard took a heart attack and dropped dead, someone would try to blame me. They'd sue the firm for damages under the old respondeat superior doctrine. Hell, I would have. They'd find some doctor who'd testify that Codway would have lived to have been 100 and won the Boston Marathon if I hadn't stuck my nose in. Doctors will say anything. They hate lawyers. A lawsuit like that would be the end of me. Much as I wanted number 3, I had no intention of risking my career. I turned to go. But I didn't. Maybe I should have. But all at once, I got the feeling that somebody was trying to make a chump out of me. There was Codway, not 4 feet behind me, hanging on to this world by his fingernails, but squeezing the last drops of life out of a body that looked like a dried-up orange skin. Wouldn't he treat everything that same way? I had to laugh. The second he'd heard that he had something I wanted, the accumulated reflexes of Codway's pawing, grasping, overlong life had reared up to play hardball, to squeeze the last red cent out of me. His body was wasted away, held together as much by his belt as by flesh and muscle, but he could still put out for some extra life and money. 2 things he really couldn't enjoy anymore. I admired the old boy. I edged back toward him. Mr. Codway, be reasonable. My client is prepared to make you a very generous offer for what, you've got to admit, is a marginal piece of property at best. Good God, that did it. His body heaved like Moby Dick going down for the last time. He cried out in a voice so Ahab loud I thought his lungs would burst. No! I told you! Get away from me! Get away! He snatched up his prosthetic leg, swung it around, and hit me on the left shoulder. I grabbed the leg and pulled it away from him, pulled him halfway out of his chair with it. He hung on to it so tight. Then I lost my head and flung the thing over the porch rail, past the end of the stairs and onto the sand below. It looked like a piece of Howdy Doody hitting the beach. Meanwhile, Codway was turning 3 shades of purple and coughing, hacking, choking, and gagging, making a hell of a lot of noise. I could hear footsteps running toward us from inside the building. Someone was in the hallway behind us. The automatic inner doors were swishing open. Codway was jackknifing back and forth, racked by coughing, bouncing like a pinball off the arms of his chair. I thought to myself, Maybe this is no act. I backed up a few steps, turned the corner, and ran the length of the porch to the front of the building and the parking lot. The geezers had disappeared. No one saw me as I jumped into my car and burned rubber out of there. I was halfway home and glad to be gone when I remembered that I'd given the old coot my business card. Well, that's the end of the excerpt. If you want to see more of my videos reading excerpts from various of my works, then click on one of the boxes to either side of my head. If you'd like to read the rest of 5 Minutes More, or you'd like to purchase any of my other books, then as I said before, the links are down below. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you again soon.